Kuba, could you try one more time, please?
Yeah, it's all good. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you fine.
All right.
All right. We're about to begin. We're sharing this session to YouTube as well. And we're excited to answer all of your questions today. Hello, everyone. My name is Bart, and together with Kuba, you don't see Kuba, but he's behind the scenes for us. Hey, Kuba.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Happy to help you answer the questions in the chat and the Q&A. There are some already.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there are questions coming. And this session is different than others that we provide. We usually inform using our newsletter, our user group about the session that is going to be provided. This session is different because we send information about the session using social media, and we send also information to those that registered for a free extended trial from us. So what we want to do is to make a good use of your time so you have a space and time to ask your questions so we can respond live. So as Kuba said, please go ahead and put them to Q&A. We'll go one by one. We don't have a special agenda for today. There's no structure. It's for you. It's all about your questions. And we're going to provide you with answers visually. Kuba, any opening items from your end before we begin?
No, it's all good. Please remember that this webinar, this Q&A session is being recorded. As we stream live on YouTube, it's going to be there for you. We'll send you a link to that recording so you can revisit it later. And yeah, feel free to ask questions here in Zoom or on YouTube. And use the please use the Q&A section of Zoom, or just use the Zoom chat, and that should be fine as well. I'll check on those, and we'll send them to Bart so he can answer them live and show you around. So yeah, glad to have you here. My pleasure to be here with Bart today, and yeah, have a nice webinar.
All right, so I just made one of the objects spinning on my screen. That's a video object. I think you already know what Explain Everything is for, and questions that we'll answer will be more related to deployment and usage in this specific scenario, but I might be wrong. So there are those that would want to see a short demo of basic functionality of Explain Everything. Let us know. For now, we'll try to look at first questions that are coming on our Q&A. And a question from Mike, and is about using Google Meet and the restrictions using, I understand, conferencing software when broadcasting Explain Everything over conferencing software. This is something we covered during one of our webinars, and it might be cool if I show you materials from that webinar. So I'll just quickly find the project where I have it. I might want to use my cloud projects. And that was the webinar, yeah, this one. So the short answer is that there are no specific restrictions related to conferencing solution that you're using. Explain Everything works equally well using Zoom or Google Hangouts or Microsoft Teams and others, because it's basically the same scenario where you broadcast screen of your whiteboard, that's the situation here, over conferencing solution to viewers of the conference that is taking place using conferencing solutions. So as long as your conferencing solution is able to provide this, and on iOS it works across the board, and it's similar with other platforms, you're good. There are no restrictions. The only functional restriction is related to the scenario of how you use it, because in this scenario, we call this scenario broadcasting your whiteboard or live casting whiteboard on a conferencing call. The only restriction here is that it's you showing others what you have on the canvas of your screen. And that's actually what I'm doing now during this Q&A. I'm broadcasting my whiteboard, but you cannot interact with content that I have on my screen. You could do that if you think about this scenario of collaborative whiteboards, because actually Explain Everything comes with this functionality where you can join with others on the canvas of your whiteboard and kind of like remove this restriction, this just me showing others. Instead of that, provide everyone with the possibility to edit. And this scenario is quite exciting for us because it's something that we specifically prepared to Explain Everything for group projects, ideation, but it has also limits. But answering your question, that's the only restriction I would say. You restrict this to the way you use it, not by the tool that you use to transmit screen of your whiteboards to others. Okay, it might also ask, how can he use a green screen background for live classroom session? So Kuba, I remember our discussion. There was a question, similar question in the past, right? What was the answer?
And I think we didn't cover that, to be honest. I woke up the other day and I realized we didn't answer that question. But so it's a good moment to answer that, I guess. So, well, the green screen is something that you can set up using another software for broadcasting, like OBS, or there are actually two OBSs. So like streaming software, they come with some ways of doing that so that you can, create, like you put a sheet behind you, green sheet behind you, and then insert your own picture. But that's not available in Explain Everything. There are ways you can do that, and I recommend to search online how to do that with your streaming software if you are planning to do so. Though I haven't seen anyone doing that in Explain Everything yet.
Well, are you sure? Because it depends what you want to achieve, I guess.
Right.
Because I'm using a similar scenario sometimes when I respond with a video, and I want to have this video object behind other elements on my canvas. So let me show you.
All right. Yeah.
Maybe that's what Mike is looking for. So for example, that's you, right? That's the view from camera on your iPad, and I can bring in other content like here, right? And that's a similar result. I'm not removing my background, although I'm adding content on top of this. And then I can start recording and say, okay, so here with fingers, sorry, maybe with pen, here's a scenario where we use Explain Everything to broadcast through Zoom to other participants. And that's still a very cool effect, right? It's not exactly what Mike was asking, but it's something you can use without any additional software.
Right. Yeah. This way you can actually use Explain Everything. That's right. But if you're looking for something that you see on the streaming videos that you see on the internet, they require a little bit more setup. But yeah, with Explain Everything you can mess around with all these live video elements and just include your video and manipulate or move it as you wish. So that's the cool part of Explain Everything here.
Another question comes from Angelica about the use of iPad with pen. And actually, we're using our pencils here. And I can show you how we designed the software to allow for pen input. So when I'm touching my screen with finger, you see those bubbles, right? These are places where I put my fingers. So for example, I can have objects, why black, and move them with my fingers like that. But pen is also a good device to provide input when you're writing. So I write with pen now, or should I call it pencil? This is what you can do with pen. And at the same time, you can use your fingers for moving around. And now I use my two fingers now. Maybe I can show this to the camera somehow, that you can move with two fingers and draw with your pen without changing any tools, just like that. It's not a professional way to display that, but you get the picture. This is something we thought quite long about, how to provide intuitive way of moving hand gestures and adding strokes with pen. We have functionality in Explain Everything that allows you to switch between draw tool, like here I'm drawing, and I can switch to eraser with just double taps like that. So I tap my pencil, and this is a latest generation of Apple Pencil, and I can move between eraser here and draw tool. Now, what's your favorite way of using pen and finger input, Kuba? Is there any suggestion coming from you in this topic?
I actually have iPad Air 2 and Nexus 9 Android device, and they don't come with, they don't have Apple Pencil doesn't work with our iPad Air 2, and I don't have a stylus for the other device. But I have this not, the passive stylus that doesn't require batteries, and I find it pretty okay. Though I usually avoid actually drawing too much. I try to prepare content before I do stuff in Explain Everything, and then just highlight or add minor additional drawings. So that's not my primary mode. So if you struggle with Explain Everything with drawing, say you don't have a stylus, which we recommend a lot, then you can prepare content in somewhere else, and then just import it to the canvas. That this way you'll avoid messiness if you're not familiar with drawing with your finger or using a stylus. So yeah, that's in this way Explain Everything is very, very comfortable to use because it doesn't require you to write or draw, right? So for those who are not looking or have problems with those, just you can create your content somewhere else. We've received some questions regarding like math formulas, right? And and creating all sorts of weird math equations. And usually you want to draw something that sorry for I'm just messing it. You want to include a drawing to that. You can prepare this drawing using like Wolfram Alpha, for example. You just go to the website, create this equation, export it as an image, and then just include it in your Explain Everything file. So that's very handy.
Right. That's true. Yeah. One comment to what you shared is that you can also embrace messiness of the whiteboard, and it's actually a question of your personal style. If you want to provide your lecture by having ready-made components, elements, slides, or diagrams coming from even your browser, because you can take pieces of of what is in the browser and take it out to the canvas to explain better. Or you can just use pen and write and explain in kind of like a storytelling mode and embrace messiness. That's okay. It's a question of how you want how you want to do it. It's a question of your style. We try to support any use case.
This is a great moment to answer one of the questions that we got from YouTube, is that how can I add a calculator?
Calculator. Right. Is there a web calculator we can use?
Yeah, there has
okay. let's Google that up. Because that's what is great about Explain Everything, is that you can have live browser on a canvas of Explain Everything. And this is so cool because you can have like a timers, or any web solution that works can be a part of Explain Everything experience. So calculator online. Okay, you can do it like that. 9 times 6. I do it on a canvas, although it's not an object. It's not a functionality of Explain Everything. Is an object that sits there. I can use it. It's pretty cool, I guess.
So yeah, it's almost the same like Desmos, yeah, and then Wolfram Alpha. You just use it the same way, like directly in the browser. Just remember that the browser recording functionalities are limited, just because the amount of frames. Just sorry for being too specific right now, but the amount of frames that we have to capture while using the browser during recording is fairly limited. So please try recording while it happens and see if the result is good for you and you like it. So
yeah, that's a short illustration how to use Desmos. If you have it in the browser like that, you can basically reach for any function and have it on Explain Everything for additional explanations, because you can write on top of that, right?
Right, and if you're using a web browser and Explain Everything, you just open the Desmos or Wolfram Alpha in another tab, download the image or take a screenshot of that, and then drag and drop it onto your Explain Everything tab, because the web browser is not available in the web browser version of Explain Everything. But
that's important. Yeah, because let me show you here. That's what you have as set of objects when you're using tablet. So I'll provide it to the canvas, and sorry for messing this canvas so much, but we just embrace messiness, I guess. And I'll delete those objects here. So that's what you have on tablet. On, as Kuba mentioned, on web version of Explain Everything, you won't have browser here. And there's a good reason for this. It's quite hard to create a web app in the browser that adds a browser inside of the web app. We tried. So far, we don't know how to do this. So yes, if you're using browser and you're on tablet and you have, let's say, your students connected with you using web version of Explain Everything, they will still see your browser on the canvas. That's okay. They won't be able to interact with that, but they will see your browser, because you can have a browser on tablet, but not in Explain Everything in the web version of Explain Everything. So there are tiny differences, and we have a section of our help center that is devoted to those tiny differences between versions. So if you'd like to precisely understand those tiny differences between versions, check our help page on the website, on our website.
Right. So there's a lot of questions coming in. So we'll go through them as they appear sure. Here, and let's just and if we see that there's not enough time to answer, we'll try to speed it up. So this is a great question. I want to use this with my high school students. Can you show us the user side of creating an account? I know I'll get this question from my kids.
That's true, and that's why we devoted entire webinar on this very topic. So here on Tuesday, next week, oh, that's the wrong address, sorry. Explain Everything. It's not the best idea to keep pencil when you're typing address.
It's okay.
Webinars. Here's a webinar on April 13th, where we're going to look at Explain Everything from the perspective of student and parent. And we'll have a cool graphics to illustrate what can you expect as parent, and what you can share if you're a teacher, what you can share with parents to make to enable them support their kids when doing, let's say, homework or a group project on Explain Everything. But in short, just to answer your question today, not to force you to wait until Tuesday, but we welcome you to join that webinar as well. From users' perspective, this is a question of if you want your students to use a free version and content that you put out, or if you want them to have this fully featured version of Explain Everything. With free version, it comes with limits, but it does not really require, in some situation, even creating an account. I'll give you an example, and that's the simplest thing you can think of. If you're a teacher and if you want to create a project for your students to join and work with you, that's the scenario that I'll illustrate now. You can use this invite button here. You could start with a local project as well, but that will be the easiest way. You can invite and collaborate, that's here. So I'll use that. I'll choose a template like, let's say, Blackboard. And this, what it will do, it will create a web collaborative whiteboard. And I'll call this collaborative whiteboard, that you can see from the perspective of students how easy it is to access this whiteboard. In the top right here, you have code. And this code can be used by your students to connect, and they don't have to create accounts to access this whiteboard. So you actually can try this out if you like, using your iPad or Android or Chrome. Just type this code where you see the join button, or into the, you can put it to the search field as well. Or if you're using browser, you can go to this address and put code like that. So it forms a web address. You can actually share this with your students by copying this code here, right? You can share this with an email, but that's the easiest way you can ask your students to join collaborative whiteboard to work on a project. There's one thing you need to remember, is that when you do that, there must be a registered user on the board, on the canvas. So if you have an account already, you can start the collaborative session, ask them to join using the code or using the link, and they're good to go. But you need to be present on the canvas of the whiteboard. And I see that Susie already tries to join. Hello, Susie. If it's not a situation that you're looking for, and you would rather want your students to use collaborative whiteboard at different time than you can create a session as I did, exactly the same, but you need to ask them to create accounts. And for that, they would need to go to Explain Everything and create their accounts here. So that's what they would need to do. After creating free account, they will be able to join session that will be provided by you, by the code or by this address.
Right.
Is that a good way to do it?
Sorry, down below you have because that's the sign in, right? Down below you have don't have an account, create one now. And here's how sorry for not like, we want to cover this in detail, but it mainly depends on how your how your school or your district deploys applications and services, because there are ways of setting up Explain Everything so that they don't have to create an account with their emails, and there are ways of setting that up. So it all depends on how you want to go with the deployment, or how you usually go with the deployment, right? So because if your school uses MDM and you deploy apps by using the system, then, well, you'll be your admin probably will take care of that, and then they will have a separate set of instructions for this situation, right? That's why we can cover, like, the most basic scenario is the one that Bart just shown. You just go to explaineverything.com, create a new account, and then just invite your students via email. But there are so many angles this can take that we cannot cover them today, all of them today. But it's fairly simple.
We'll try to do that. We'll try to cover most of those scenarios on our session on Tuesday. So if you're interested in broader range of possibilities, just join us on Tuesday. We're happy to show you around.
So there's a great follow-up question from Angelica. Do students have to have the program downloaded onto their devices to collaborate?
No, but we strongly suggest to use the app instead of web. It's just because of the performance of some devices. So if they can use tablets, we strongly recommend to download the app from iOS Store or Google Play Store. In some situations with some devices, it's actually required to join the session. But those newer, more powerful devices might still allow those students without downloading app to run the app in the browser.
Right. So if you're using a Mac or a PC, the web browser version is the only available version for those devices. But if you're using a touchscreen tablet device or a Chromebook, then we highly recommend to download the apps because the performance is just better.
Cool. Kuba, do you see what's happening on this session? This is very cool. I like it very much.
All right, there's another question from Q&A. Is there a way for users to submit responses to a prompt?
Yes, there is, but we suggest to use Google Classroom or other solution for that. So Explain Everything has some features that allows you to send information and get responses, but it's not precisely learning management system. You can think of this as a whiteboard that plays well with learning management systems that provides a structure to that communication. Explain Everything allows you to create and send links, and that could be, let's say, a work to be done, a homework. You can send it as, let's say, email, and then await response in the form of a project. But it's not going to be, I guess, what you would require. That is the full feedback loop, prompting someone to get a response and have a structured way to looking at the results coming from, let's say, different class members.
Right, yeah. You can think of Explain Everything as a whiteboard, as a whiteboard that you would use on a lesson. That's how it's used usually, even if not in non-remote situations, right? You just have a whiteboard and it's interactive and it's collaborative. Though it doesn't feature those, pre-prepared interactions that you can find in some learning management systems or some solutions that you usually have. This is a whiteboard that should help you express things better and allow you to use any sort of media you have. So yeah.
There is another question. Is there a way for teachers to create an account for their students? We actually covered that recently. So I'll try to look for material on that. No.
So while you look, I'll answer it briefly. Yes, there is a way of setting up your group account so that your students don't have to create it. It kind of links to the previous answer I gave, that it all depends on the deployment of your school, right? I'll send the link to the part of our help center where we cover all types of deployments and how you can go about it. But yeah, you can do it so that you deploy the applications via MDM or other solutions, so that your student don't have to provide emails, or so that they don't have to register.
So
in
that's the scenario of deployment at scale, right?
Yes.
With MDM. But even with smaller groups, you can do this using your admin panel. So let me show you, because I found this material that I was looking for. So if you go to driveexplaineverything.com and you log in with your account, and I assume that's a group account. I assume that you have an educational group and you're a teacher, so you own this group. Then if you go to my account here, and I'm just showing this using my credentials, if you go to my account, you'll find yourself in this space. This is admin. This is a space where your profile is visible. And I have many users. Nevertheless, you have user management panel here. And this user panel allows you to create accounts in your group for students. So you can put students' email addresses and send invitations directly from here. So that's one way to do it for smaller deployments. The other way is also possible, and it's actually underneath that panel. If you scroll down, you'll see this, and it allows you to get a code that unlocks Explain Everything for your students. You can ask them to use the code on their Explain Everythings. So with this code, they will join your group. And by this, they will create accounts by themselves, joining your group. Hope that's useful.
All right, that's a great example. Okay, so then there's I'll go, because there was one in the chat. It's a lengthy one, but it's related to this whole theme of today's webinar.
Let's have it.
Hi, thanks for organizing this. I've just done the Rosa Liarte course today, and I loved your app. I have a question though. I've downloaded Explain Everything, not the EDU app, and I'm wondering if after 7 days they'll charge me automatically, even though I haven't added my payment details. Maybe because of COVID-19, the free period is extended. Thank you. So the short answer to this question is that, well, there are two parts, I guess. So if you don't have payment set up in your iOS, you won't be charged. So I guess that's the first part. Though you can also, for anyone who starts the trial on iOS version of Explain Everything, you can always cancel right after you select the trial. You just go to your, to your payments and then cancel the renewal. So no problem there, don't worry. You just have to do it manually if you have your payment set up. So, and the other question is, this doesn't happen automatically. We have special prolonged trials for closed schools that we provide for teachers and students and whole districts even, and they are available upon a request. So if you wanna get the extended trial for you as a teacher or for your school or for your district, just reach out to us. I'll post a link in the chat, and while Bart may expand a little bit on that answer.
I can demonstrate where you can look for this. If you go to Explain Everything, our blog section, and I'll use the blog address here. And if you look there in the articles, you'll find this one. Oh yeah, keep calm and teach online. And that's what you need. That's where you can sign up for this free extended trial for your school or district. And this means that you can sign up for from 10 to 2,000 accounts if you need to test it at scale. And during this trial, you don't provide payment details. And we will provide you with all materials that we have on ways of teaching remotely with Explain Everything. And we have great materials on that. Articles, webinars, printable materials in PDFs, a lot of good stuff. And during that trial, we'll provide you with this information. At the end of the trial, we'll reach out with a good offer so you can continue using Explain Everything, or you can, of course, decide to extend it if you need to. We're happy to provide you with that possibility as well. But that's the starting point for this special extended trial for schools and districts.
All right, so another question from the chat. I use the whiteboard for one-on-one teaching with my students in math. I was wondering if there's a way to limit their ability to move, scribble, draw on the whiteboard, or turn it on and off easily. I find I like to play around and make a huge mess of the board sometimes as they are elementary aged. Yes, that's the whole idea behind explaining everything, though you can limit this for your collaborative whiteboard. That's quite easy to do, though there are improvements coming for that. So,
but let's cover what we have currently.
Yeah.
So that's the collaborative whiteboard we opened a few minutes ago, and I see that two of our guests, two participants, are still on the whiteboard. So please confirm what you see from your perspective. Let's say, Robert, if you could give us a information and feedback, because what I'll try to do is I'll go ahead and restrict access to the editing features of Explain Everything for those participants. And to do that, I go to invite. And as you see, I have options here. Currently, this address that allows you to connect to this whiteboard is set to these permissions. Anyone with the link can edit, but I can change this here. Oh, and Robert is just moving around text object. That's great, because once I change this to just view, he will not be able to do anything now. So Robert, you can confirm to us that you don't see those tools that were previously present on left side of the screen. So yeah, and I hear that Robert just responded. Can you say that again?
That's true. I cannot see it on the left-hand side any longer.
Thank you. But if I change this back, these tools will be visible and available for every participant. And for now, this is what we have in Explain Everything as a feature that allows you to restrain participants, but it works for everyone unless you provide emails and ask users to join by emails, for example, here, using the registered accounts, and then you can change permissions for them. So it's quite complicated if you want selectively restrict some users and others, provide them with access without restrictions. But we're improving that, and we're going to roll out some improvements for more structured collaboration that will be rolled out in a few weeks, in about 2 weeks. So I'm really looking forward to see how you will like those improvements, because they are actually very useful.
Oh, it may take longer a bit than 2 weeks, but yeah, we are hoping that it's going to be there faster than before the end of the year. But yeah. We're working really hard on this. This is a great addition that we want to see as soon as possible.
So more than 2 weeks, but not too long.
Yep. Okay, let's move on. I noticed that when I export a video as a link or file, then multiple projects show up in my drive. How can I keep my files organized? Well, that's a great question. So we know that the experience of organizing files and projects and Explain Everything could be a little bit better. We have that somewhere on our roadmap, but the main takeaway is that please remember that one project on your Explain drive can have multiple web video links. So that's why there are a lot of projects appearing in your Explain drive. So maybe we could show that, Bart. I think because I think we can show that once you create a project and then create a web video link, then if you want to create more videos of that project, then you probably should open the link on your Explain drive. Now that sounds complicated, and we know, but it's very easy once you get a grip of that.
Let's illustrate that. So I'm happy to do this for you now. I'll just change the background. Okay, so let's say that's my video lesson number 1. Okay. So I'll hit record here.
But not, right now you're working on a cloud project, right? You've created the project in the cloud.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's already a cloud project. Yes. So that's a video lesson number 1. And I created a very short 10-second long recording. And I'll create web video link. So that's lesson number 1. And there's a different link to that web video link. So you can see in the top right, I do have a code because I started this session as a cloud project. You could do this locally, of course, but I decided to create a session so to have a more to show you the structure that will be created after I change this video and render a new one, because we actually keep structure of videos that are related to the source material that I have here. So that's the lesson number 1. And I might want to redo that lesson, and I'll do video lesson number 2. I will overwrite my recording. So I'm using this overwrite function here on the bottom of the screen. I can choose different recording modes. I might even change the background color just to see the difference easier. That's the video lesson number 2. So I'll go ahead and overwrite my recording. This is a video lesson number 2. And I'll create web video link for that lesson as well. So that's video lesson number 2. And again, I have a new code. So let's say I did all that. That's my video lesson. That's the project. I can delete this recording and repeat this as many times as I need, because that's the source material that I use to create those web video links. But what happens in terms of organization? So if I go to my drive here and I look at my the name of that project is still not, it should update to my video lesson, but that's the whiteboard that I used. As you see underneath the whiteboard, I have 2 links that I created with lesson number 1 and with lesson number 2. So I have my source material here. I can at any time join this project again to create as many video links that I want. I will cancel this for now, because what is important is that underneath I have structured list of web video links that were rendered using this source material. And this is the way you can organize your projects and related videos in a neat way. As in your drive, it will just list as one project.
Right, just keep in mind that Bart started the cloud project immediately. So after we create a web video link, your project will upload to Explain Drive and the video will be created off that project, right? So if
Correct.
You start locally in a local project and you create another another project locally and then create a new web video link, this whole project will send to Explain Drive again and then create a web video link underneath that project. So yeah. It's
so let's show that as well, because you're right. Then this way of structuring your material on Drive is a bit different, because I'll show this real quick. So I'll use black canvas now, and that's the local project, local video project number 1. Why is it local? Because now you don't see any code in top right? It's a local project because I'm using tablet. On web, this is not an option that you will be able to use, because every project will be a cloud project if you're using a web browser with Explain Everything. But on tablets, you can do this and work offline on your project, create recording. This is my local video project number 1, and I'm going to render video out of this project now. So that's my project. I click again here and I create web video link. And this is my video from local project number 1. And done. And in this example, as Kuba said, this is still my local project that exists on my iPad. So if I move out and go to library, it sits here on my wall, in my library. That's my local library. But in the cloud, I have many projects. So sorry for that. I need to scroll up. And here in my drive, I will find a copy of this local project that has web video link. And then it's quite similar because you can continue work using this cloud copy of your project, but your web video link will be listed as in previous example here underneath your project. So you can go ahead and use this project and create additional new versions and create web video links that will list here on this list of web video links. I hope it's not too confusing.
Yeah, we see that we can do a definitely better job in management, but you know, that's something we see and we want to improve. So no worries, changes are coming. But generally, for organizing your content, usually most of the teachers use some other learning management systems. Like, you know, they store links and contents somewhere else. That's why it wasn't a very high priority thing. So for now, if you're confused, please try using that, what Bart said, and if you want to have it more structured, more rigid, and you want to have it in a controllable environment, so you have more control over that, then please use some other management system so you can see, where the lessons are and what are the links and so on and so forth. So that's, I
guess, what I see as something that perhaps it's the way that we're not able to clarify exactly the use case here, but we're working on materials and just to show you using examples how to use this functionality, because it's very powerful, yet it might be confusing. And we understand that. But it allows you to work with Explain Everything in a way of, let's say you have a group project for your students, and it's a kind of like an ideation session. And you as a teacher, you would want to have snapshots of their understanding during development of this idea on this cloud session. So you can ask them to provide you with video snippets of their understanding. By recording video, they would create web video links that will link to this project and continue developing ideas on the cloud project to send another web snippet in the future. And by that, you have a canvas in the cloud with the set of videos confirming their understanding at certain point of time. And then you can have those videos for review or for sharing with parents, but they kind of like exist under the main project where your students work on. And that was the idea. We wanted to provide this possibility, but we understood after implementing it that it might be kind of confusing. So next week, we're going to have a good article on that. And for those that would be interested, I encourage you to look at our blog. We're going to show this functionality from using lenses of PYP exhibition. That's the method of students working on project just to exhibit their results of that project later on at the end of semester. That's for 5th graders. And we're going to have an article on that explaining exactly how this cloud project and web video links work in this scenario.
All right, we're nearing the 1 hour mark. So let's try and answer the technical short question. So where is it? How do I remove my pics from clipart? That's a good question.
Well, that's quite surprising. I recently had the same thought. How do I remove this, let's say this card here from clipart? If you press and hold it, you'll see this icon. And then you can just remove it.
Yep, that's how you do it. You just press and hold on the image and then click the red thing, red X there. So that's one. There's another one. Your advanced users webinar showed how to work with the slide deck to keep slides not to move side to side while scrolling. But is there a way to only show one slide at a time? So I think the easiest answer to that question is that you want them to have them as separate slides. This way you won't have to, scroll around. There are some improvements coming for navigating around the canvas with many elements on it. But for now, we recommend using just importing those as separate slides.
So let me show you how to do that. When you import document, and this is just a 4 pages document, it's a PDF. Instead of choosing grid as my layout, as your layout, you would want to use separate slides here. And you can insert using this button. And this will create 4 slides. And each of those slides is devoted to separate page of that document.
So this way you'll keep one slide, one page. So it will, right? You will still be able to move around just like Bart does right now.
But if you would want to lock this movement, you can also think about having those slides as background. So I'll show you this nice trick. If you choose Inspector, select this slide and set this slide as a background with this option here, then if you put objects on the canvas, because I need a reference point, I'll show you with two objects. I'll just create one and another. And if you use the scale tool, look what happens. Now, this page actually will not move even if you move around with your scale tool, so you can write on top of this. This is an example.
This just becomes a background for infinite canvas, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You can join and group objects as you like. So if that's what you're looking for, you can do this using Inspector and setting slide as background. Now, right. That's a cool trick, I guess.
Yeah. Though please remember that the annotations won't stick to the background for obvious reasons. All right. Question from Debbie. Will you extend the school trial though June if schools are using it, but their schools doesn't end until then? So I guess that's the questions we kind of hope would appear during this Q&A session.
Yes, so we do it case by case. So if you already have free extended trial, ongoing free extended trial, and if you would want to extend it even more, just contact us. And at the end of your free extended trial, we'll email you and message you how to do that. So there's definitely such option. We want to make it easier for you to adapt tools and techniques that we're sharing. So yes, we're going to help you in this regard.
All right, awesome, great answer, great question. All right, so another question from Q&A. Do students join a class under the teacher's management, or do they have their own individual account that is not linked to the teacher? And how is it graded on kids' safety? Well, that's a great question.
Very good.
So that's the latter part. Each student have their own account if you want, because they don't have to have an account. That's the trick here. You can deploy explain everything so students don't have an account. Their own device will be active under your group license, right? But essentially how it works is that each individual account or device that can be activated with explain everything code will be a part of your group account management by your admin. So yeah, there's a admin or owner. The admins generally are managing the group account, but your student don't have to have an account, right? We have multiple options for students to join the group without their info, like without their emails or without them having to, create an account.
Exactly, because basically what you're asking is, you have two possibilities here. You can either have a group of individual accounts, and there is no really much control over what is set in those accounts in terms of properties, tools, resources they can use, or you can have a group account situation where teacher kind of controls the experience of students. And in this situation, you can configure colors for students, remove permission to use browser or certain elements of Explain Everything experience. And that's where I'm trying to get in terms of like second part of the question. With group account, you can control that, but with individuals, you cannot. And also, in this situation where you have a group account and there's a teacher and students, there is an option, because sometimes students don't have their individual email accounts. There is an option to have students without email accounts. There is an option to, if students have email accounts, to reset their accounts or passwords by teacher. So there are basically management options available here that would not be available in this situation where everyone uses individual account.
Yeah, so this is very, very flexible, but when you look at it from like a strict, straight lines, the straight path, then it kind of gets complicated when you want to explain that. So what we generally advise is to refer to the deployment part of our help center, so you can choose your own way of doing this. That depends highly on how your school operates.
Exactly. So let me show you where to look for that.
So as you do, I'll read another questions. So
that's the deployment section here.
Exactly, managing groups, deployment, and there you have all the information that we have surrounding this subject. All right, so what is the best way to embed a lesson from Explain Everything to a Google site? So I guess the answer to that question is to embed them as HTML. So I assume these are video lessons, right? Because that's how you can embed the lesson with Explain Everything. Once you create a web video link and you go to your web video link view, there's an option to embed, to copy a HTML code that is, so you can paste it to your Google site and it will appear as you would with a YouTube video, for example. It works exactly the same way. I'll send a link to the scenario right after article on our Help Center how to do that. Okay.
Cool. All right.
Okay, and
question from Tommy maybe now.
Yep.
What is the best way to invite teachers? I've tried through the invite button under settings and putting in their emails with no luck. I have not tried the code yet. So what is your take on this question, Kuba? Because I know there are some changes coming.
Oh, one sec. I'll just type in the answer to Rachel's question.
Okay. So with teachers, you need to think about teachers as owners of certain groups. And recently we had a discussion about simplify experience of teachers, managing teachers account. So Kuba, can you?
Right. So yeah, because you see the regular, like the teacher, because I see from the question, I assume there was a problem. Well, and I assume you're an admin of your group. Well, once you invite them through an invite button and then using email, they have to confirm using their emails. I don't know why this didn't work, but it should work. And if it's not working, then please reach out to us and provide more information, because it should be working all right. But what they need to do is, they should receive an email from Explain Everything that says, hey, you've been invited to a group. Please click this link to register your account under this group, right? And if they don't have an account, they will have to create it. And that's how it works. And it should work whether or not they have an account. So it should be fairly simple. Or you can provide them with their code. so you can just copy a code from there and send them, but it works exactly the same way. It should work exactly the same way. They can copy paste the code in Explain Everything, or just use it on Explain Drive and register from there. But the flow is almost exactly the same. Just you know, you don't open a link with the code embedded in it. You just copy, you paste the code inside of the app, which is how it, you know, how it works. That's the response is exactly the same. So it should be working fine. Just please check with your teachers if they have received the invitation email or not. On maybe it landed in their spam folder. So maybe your for some reason your domain is blocking Explain Everything emails. So maybe that's why the code is the way you should go with. But yeah, it should be fine. So please reach out to us and we'll look into it and provide more answers to that.
Great.
All right, so another question is kind of related to this. Do I share the member account with students, not the manager? I'm the manager teacher, right? Well, this is where it gets, so I'll link to the roles in group accounts article on our help center. And generally there are 4 roles. There's an owner, there's admin, there's manager, and member. So the owner is the one who pays for the account. That's the thing. They are, you know, the owners of the account. They have the payment details and so on and so forth. An admin is the one who can you know, manage the whole account, and there can be multiple admins. They can be assigned by an owner. An owner is automatically an admin as well. So these are the administrative well, sorry for my accent, administrative roles. Then there are managers and members. So they don't differ almost at all, apart from one thing. You can, admins and owners and the owner can impose some limitations upon members. And that's the only difference between managers and members for now. We used to have the ability for managers to invite people to the group, but it was not intuitive at all. And since we have this admin promotion thing, we resigned from that and we don't want to support it anymore. So only admins will be able to invite people to their accounts. So your account is individual. So that's the, you know, I mean, your account is your own. That's what I wanted to say. You share the storage of your group account. That's the only thing you share. And within the group, you are able to invite people to your projects with their usernames and with their emails, right? That's how it works. And so there are no, you know, there's no very rigid structure in Explain Everything and how, you know, the roles in group accounts are made to be. So it's very, I would say, free to use. It kind of relates to the previous question that we had in regards to how to structure content. Most people use Explain Everything with other learning management systems, and Explain Everything doesn't come with its own, you know, management system that supports those kind of scenarios. As what we've learned from many teachers and schools, that there are so many different, you know, angles and scenarios that people use Explain Everything in, that we cannot just design it so it works for everyone, since there are so many systems, so many other ways of using and, you know, managing that. So it works like you're just sharing a storage on Explain Everything, and as a manager, as a teacher that was invited by an admin, for example. That's how we look at it from a current perspective. I hope that answers the question, but yeah.
You're an expert in roles and permissions, so thank you, Kuba, for that. I guess that was
right. I was supposed to post the link to there.
Please go ahead. In the meantime, let me answer the question coming.
Right.
So attendee, yeah, Kuba.
Yeah, because that's kind of relates to the previous questions. How do you suggest I administer assessments? So what we advise is to use a separate learning management system, so you can, you know, like Google Classroom, Shobi, or any other software like this, so you can really take control, really see, you know, get notification when something happened, you know, Explain Everything is mainly content creation tool that doesn't come with its own management system. You can make it work for you so that you share within your group, but we advise to use, if you want to have it more structured, just use a designated learning management system tool for you to collect assignments and administer them.
And we had a great session where we illustrated how to use Explain Everything with Google Classroom for this very scenario. So I advise you to look into this past webinar. It was provided a week ago, so it's fresh in my memory, where we used actually, I guess there's one more that even explains this better, and that will be this one, where we used both iOS and Chromebooks together to show the entire process of providing group projects, assessments, collecting results, using Google Classroom, and Explain Everything working in tandem. So this is something that I suggest to watch, and there'll be new sessions of similar kind coming to our webinar list. So if you're interested in participating live in such demo and ask additional questions, please register for future sessions on this topic.
Right. By the way, thank you for the illustration for the group roles and group accounts. That was great. I haven't paid much attention, but I can see that it was pretty cool. There's the last question from Q&A, and even if the students don't have an EE account, so I assume it's in regards to the previous question about inviting guests to your collaborative sessions. So yes, you can invite anyone actually that people that don't have an account to your collaborative session. The only requirement for them is for you to be in that project. You cannot collaborate. You cannot let other people collaborate without an account on your projects if you're not in them. That's the only prerequisite. But yeah, you can share an invitation link with anyone. And I guess that's answers the question. But there was another question from YouTube about. Where was it? Or maybe it wasn't YouTube, but there was one about, I've lost it, sorry. How do you open up the session? So I guess we could just
open up Cloud session.
Yeah. How you create this? I wanted to cite it, but I cannot see it right now.
Okay.
So how do you are in the local project, so it will be easy to show, I guess.
How to open this session as a cloud project, right?
Yep. So people could join in.
All right. This one is quite large. I was just messing around with content here, but still I can use this button here, top right. Let me just show you with an arrow. Maybe that's not an ideal background for this. Here you have an invite button that you can use to open the session for access by other participants, even without account, as you mentioned before. So when I do that, what you'll notice is that this session is uploaded to the cloud. This is a fairly large project, so it takes a while. And here you have a code that can be used by others to access contents of this session. So the button here just got activated because previously it was uploading, so the project was not yet ready. But since it's ready, now you can tap share and copy this code and send it as, let's say, email, or using other communicators that you have on your device. You can share it with participants so they can use this code to join your session. So that's how you open up collaboration space in the cloud for others to join and collaborate with you.
Awesome. That's a great example. So we need to wrap up, but we'll answer some of the latest questions. How do you get your projects to sync across devices? For example, if I make a project on my computer using the web and then go to continue to edit and create the project using my iPad.
Yeah, Very good questions. So let me perhaps illustrate that, because there is actually not much difference if you're starting with web or on any other solution. So I'll stop sharing my iPad. I'll share my screen now. I'll share my computer screen where I have, let's see, Safari. And that's a good tutorial here. If I go to explain everything, and I'll use my account. So I'm already logged in. That's okay. I can show you that I'm using my account here. And I can open the cloud project from within explain everything in the browser. So I use this empty project here. That's the plus sign. So it opens up explain everything on my computer. It asks me if I want to start with blank canvas or template. Let's start with a blank canvas. So this project is now ready. I'll mute my microphone because I transmit my voice over Zoom. So that's my cloud project started using my computer. And now I would want to continue this work with my tablet. So in order to do that, all I need to do is to use this code that is visible here on my tablet. So I'll go ahead and do this. I'll show you a screen of my tablet in a second. I'll just put the code here, because you'll see as the result that there'll be two of me on this project, me on the computer and another me joining from my tablet. So now I am on my iPad working on the same project. Of course, I can manipulate elements of the project that I started, that I initiated on my computer. So that's how you can do it. And of course, I do it at the same time from two devices, but I can, of course, close this window. That would remove one of me from the session, but the session will still be ready for me to open it from different device and continue my work. And technically what happens is this project stays open and waits for me to join from any device. But if there is no device connected to the project, this project just sits there in your cloud, ready to be opened for access when you want it. And one thing to remember, if you want to restrict other users from accessing your project, because now by the default this project is open for anyone with the link, you can change this only to specific users, or you can restrict it only to yourself, and by this have this project in the cloud to yourself. So I'll switch to my Mac now, to my iPad.
Right, so in order to make it easy for you, please remember to change the name of the project in the upper menu. You just tap on the name and change the name, so that once you are on your different device and go to explain Drive on the other device, you will know which whiteboard it was, because there can be so many whiteboards.
So that's here where there you can put name of your project, title of your project. So that's my collaborative project.
So while we do that, there's one question in the chat. Robert asked, I tried to join, got message saying mobile browsers are not supported. If you're on a mobile device, please download the app. That's the reason why, because mobile browsers are limited to many extents, and to some extent, and we are not able to provide you with the same experience. And the apps are much more efficient anyway, so there's no reason to. So please use the app while on the mobile device.
Would you like to know a way to go around this limitation? Because, you know, I'm a hacker by heart. So if you turn your iPad into a mode where it uses desktop browser instead of mobile browser, you will be able to use Explain Everything in the browser. So for example, a crazy thing to do would be to use a browser inside of Explain Everything to connect to this session that I have, to the same session that I'm using now. So let me try that. So that should be the address. That's the code. That's exactly the same session that I'm using here. But since I set here in preferences and settings that I want to use desktop version of my browser, let me show you where it is. Websites in desktop mode. Do you see it on the bottom of those settings? This allowed me to use browser inside of Explain Everything, and oddly enough, or this is crazy, joined my session. So this is an exception. I joined my session from within my session.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. I'm not.
Don't try to repeat at home, please don't.
It's gonna crash. No, just joking. Of course, the apps are much better though on mobile devices.
Just don't repeat after us, okay? Please.
All right. So final questions. There was one about creating videos.
Okay.
Where was that? How can I add a video to a presentation and then make it into a video? Yeah, that's one cool question in terms of editing.
So you can add video. Let's say that's my new project. New video project. I will use your advice, Kuba. Just rename project for clarity and organization. So that's my new project. I can add videos two ways, actually. I can create new one using this object here. So that would be me. And let's say I want to record myself speaking. Hey, here's Bart speaking from Explain Everything, recording video live just to show you how to use it as a video. So that would be a video object that was created when I was recording, okay? So I created a new object that can play independently, but I can, instead of creating new video, add existing one. So I will add new slide and show you this on slide number 2. I like different colors of my background. You can add file. And let's say I want to choose the video from photos. I hope I have something that is interesting here. Videos, nice, or maybe this video here. And now I just added the video. This is a video illustrating some concept. I can scrub through this video, see the content. I can play it. I can loop it with this object here. But the thing to remember is that if you want to record a video, using this video, you need to press button to record and then play back this video here in order to see it when you're playing the recorded video and Explain Everything. And the reason why is it so is that Explain Everything captures activity on the canvas. It's more of like a over-the-shoulder look on what you're doing on the canvas. So if you don't play this video, it would just sit there as a still image. It is sitting here for me. So I'll hit record here. So now Explain Everything is recording. You can tell this on the bottom. You'll see the timer going, right? And now if let's say in 15 seconds, I'll play back this video, okay, I just did. And this video plays and Explain Everything captures process of playing this video, moving it around, maybe annotating on top of this video. All of those things are captured now by Explain Everything. So if I stop, I see it on the bottom of the screen in the form of this visual representation on the timeline. And did I mention 15th second? I was almost precise, because here you can tell on the timeline that I started my playback of this video object. And then you see here, here's this hand gesture. That was the movement of this object. And then I used red pen to provide some annotation. Then I paused video. That was actually automatically done because that was the end of the video. But you need to play the video in order to see it in the Explain Everything recording.
Right.
Is that a good answer, Kuban?
Oh yeah, just imagine there's a whiteboard before you, right, in front of you, and you have a TV on that whiteboard. So if you're recording the whiteboard, the TV won't play if you don't turn it on and play the thing on the TV, right? That's the analogy we have here. Over the shoulder thing is, I think, is great. So it's a great way of telling that. So essentially, yeah, Explain Everything captures your actions on the canvas. If you don't perform an action of playing video, then it won't be recorded. That's the logic here. So I guess that covers most, if not all, the questions that we got. I hope that we answered all of them. Yeah. So
This
for
is not
those of
something.
you,
This is not something that happens to us recently. We had.
we went 20 minutes over the usual time, so.
But still, we wanted to keep this session longer to answer all of the questions. So if there are no more questions, we'll just close it. Unless you have some, please go ahead and ask them so we can answer live. Kuba, is there anything that interests you mostly in terms of like?
Oh yeah, the most thing that interests me right now is adding more stuff to our help center so people can find the information.
That's what we do currently. We try to fill Help Center with articles and use cases to provide you with more illustrations that you can reach to offline and just, get better guidance from us.
Right. All right, so I don't see any more questions right now. Yes, we've covered all of them. Thank you for coming to our webinar. Thank you, Bart, for great explanations as always.
It's always my pleasure, and thank you, Kuba, for helping me with this. We hope to see you on our next webinars. We'll have 2 next week. One will be related to the use of computers with non-multi-touch screens. The other will be related to experience from the perspective of a student and parent. So those 2 are coming, and the next Q&A session is going to be scheduled in about 2 weeks.
Oh, and thank you, Mariana, for taking care of the YouTube chat there.
Thumbs up for Mariana.
All right, awesome. Thank you for joining in. It was a pleasure having you here. See you on our next webinar, and
stay safe.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. See you. Bye.